Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with defeatyourcravings.com. And I'm here with a kind-hearted woman named Beth. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
Beth has agreed to let us record this so that you can all benefit from her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Beth?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm also here with my master coaches, Fiona, Yvonne, and Amy, who are chiming in to give you a special treat today so we can show you the power of the full brain trust. If you don't have any questions or concerns, I guess we'll get going, right?
Yeah, what a thrill. Can't wait.
Okay. Beth, we've talked a little during the week, but the audience doesn't really know you or your story.
Right.
Could you give a little background about what you're struggling with and what progress you've made, where you're still stuck, and how we could help?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey with food, I guess my trouble with food started when I was very young. I think I went to my first Weight Watchers meeting with my mom when I was 9 or 10 years old. So it has been kind of a roller coaster throughout my life. And this is my fourth time taking a program similar to this. And I feel really determined and in a great headspace and armed to sort of really defeat these issues once and for all. My big struggle has been the last couple years. After I had had my kids, I got into fasting, which ended up being a really bad idea for my particular food issues. I still think it probably works for some people or a lot of people, but definitely not for me. The binge restrict cycle is a big problem for me. And I feel like I know myself really well and my food habits. I had struggled with whether or not to completely abstain from certain foods or to moderate, which I know I've talked with you about before. And then I did just have something kind of weird happen yesterday, which I said I was kind of bummed out because I did end up breaking my rules. But then I said, well, at least I can talk to everybody on the podcast about it. So,
Sure. What happened?
well, I have a rule that says that I won't eat more than 1,600 calories per calendar day unless specified a month in advance. So if I have a birthday or a big celebration, I can say that day I won't track my calories, but otherwise I do. And I have certain foods that I don't eat, but my 1,600 calories I eat mostly whole foods. And yesterday, for the first time, I decided to eat a big lunch. And even though I didn't break my food rules as far as staying in my calorie range or eating foods that are problematic for me, I had spent all of my calories before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, spent them all in that way. I felt really sick and uncomfortable and too full. That feeling of being really full can be almost a trigger for more food, more binging. I was kind of guess I'm sort of surprised that it hasn't happened to me before because I've been doing this for now 3 weeks and I haven't had that issue where I've overeaten in one meal, but then I ended up eating dinner because I didn't want to fast from like 1 p.m. until the next day, because I also know that that's like not good for me. So I don't know. I kind of was just like disappointed and frustrated with myself. And then I thought, I guess I should have a rule that says like I need to evenly distribute my calories amongst my 3 meals, or, something like that, like to avoid that
Hmm.
happening in the future. Because I do feel crappy today. Don't love it.
I think you're thinking the right way, and it's a good learning experience, and you hadn't had this experience before, so you didn't know it was a problem. Do you think you need to require yourself to evenly distribute the calories throughout the day, or is it that you need to have a maximum amount per meal?
Well, I think probably no more than 600 in a meal is probably the way to go, because then I can sort of make sure that the other two, I'm having 1,000 in between the other 2 meals. I feel better if I eat a smaller breakfast, and then I'll usually eat a bigger lunch, and then I'll eat a smaller dinner. It's usually like 4, 6, 5 as far as like how I spread out my calories. So maybe no more than 600 calories in a meal, which I sort of define as just like one plate of food that I've like pre-tracked in my Fitness Pal.
Is there any situation where that could be a problem? Going out to dinner, on vacation?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess I don't know. I do have like I don't eat past 7 p.m. rule, but then I copied Fiona's rule where it says like I won't eat after 7 p.m. unless I'm out to dinner or at another's home, like where I can't control the time that meals are being served. But I don't know why that would impact the 3 meal a day rule, as long as I like don't snack in between.
Fiona,
Um,
do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a thought. I'm not sure if it's related, but I'm wondering what was it wasn't a squeal that got you to eat before 1 p.m. because you were still within your calorie limit, so you were still within your rule. But
right.
then there must have been a squeal that said that you should continue eating later on. So although that wasn't really a squeal, it was a squeal in itself because it led you to breaking your rule.
It's like tricky for me to think about, because it also was eating dinner also was something I needed to do, like just because I don't want to ever fast again. So it was like, well, I'm going to
Yeah,
eat because I don't want to fast. And even though I'm breaking my rule, I felt like it was sort of like the best medicine at the time.
yeah.
I mean, I knew I shouldn't have eaten so much at my second meal, like at lunch. And I knew when I went back for more food that I shouldn't, because this will happen. Like inevitably, I was like, I shouldn't be eating this much now. I'll be hungry later. And then at the time, I just want to feel really full. Like I want to feel, you see, I've been like sort of binge eating for a long time. And that feeling of being full, even if it's of like Brussels sprouts and whatever, is still something that I find comforting in the moment or whatever.
So could the squeal have been eat all that now at lunchtime so that you're hungry later on and I'll get you to break your rule?
Yeah, it's more like just eat it all now. You'll be so full and you can lay on the couch, and then you just like don't have to worry about eating again until tomorrow. At the time I was like, oh, no worries, I'll just eat all my calories now, which is why I definitely like was like, well, I need a rule in place so that I don't bump up against that thinking
Yeah,
anymore.
good call.
Sounds smart. And also a good call to have dinner.
I know I needed to. And I sort of have a little rule, like I go out to lunch with colleagues and stuff a lot of the time. So I'll have like a salad, or I'll order whatever's in my plan. And then if I don't know exactly how many calories are in it, I will say, no matter what I eat, if I'm saying, this is definitely between 400 and 700, like when you're out to a restaurant with dressings and whatever, I kind of am like, I always say on those days, I won't have more than 500 calories at dinner. If I'm not sure what was in my lunch, I just plug it in as though I have 500 left. So I am still eating like a dinner, and it's moderate sized dinner. So that's what I sort of did yesterday. Well, I'll just stick to my dinner, like a 500-calorie dinner. So I'm kind of still on track as though I didn't overeat at lunch. But it is kind of crazy and strange that I felt so compelled to eat so much in the middle of the day. But there's like other stressors going on, and it totally made sense. I'm like, oh, I didn't drink enough water. I didn't get enough sleep. Had a long week, and just really hit me.
Being too full can trigger the desire to binge, because if we evolved in an environment where it was kind of feast or famine, that all of a sudden when the food was available, because there was a harvest or a hunt or something, that we had to get all that we could. And so being too full is kind of a signal that the harvest is here. This is when the food is available. And so there's this very primitive reaction that triggers, you better eat more. Yeah.
Especially since I've been doing intermittent fasting for a couple years, it's that feeling of being full is not a foreign thing. That's kind of the whole deal is feast and fast. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the solution to that is to have more regular meals that are more evenly distributed. That is the solution, and not to have too much.
yeah.
Does anybody want to say anything about this rule before we ask Beth if she wants to adopt it?
Had you had any less for breakfast that day or at your meals the day before?
No, I had exercised the evening before, but I do that twice a week where I have a workout class in the evenings. And I ate the same breakfast that I usually eat, which is just like kind of an oatmeal protein powder thing. So nothing different besides that I had gotten less sleep and drank less water than I typically do.
Okay, thank you.
How many calories do you normally consume at breakfast?
Around 400.
Okay, and you mentioned 500 calories already. Would it help to have a rule that says that you will always eat or never eat more or less than 500 to 600 calories if you wanted that range?
Yeah. I would just be worried that then I would go over 1600 because I would be like having 600 3 times.
Right, but if you started your day off at 500 calories,
Yeah,
so you didn't undereat, then that
right.
still allows one of your other two meals to be more.
Yeah. I had thought about that too, that breakfast is usually my smallest meal of the day, and that might not be the ideal way to eat. I think that's a good suggestion.
So what would the rule be, Yvonne?
Well, she mentioned 500 and 600, and especially being experienced with fasting, it's important to regularly nourish your body. So I will always eat 3 meals a day between 500 and 600 calories. Your guessing rule when you go out to eat, I think, is a good conditional as well, an exception to the rule.
Yeah, that's been working for me. Like if I have to estimate, then I just say the last meal of the day will be 500 calories. Yeah.
So no more than 600, no less than 500?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And maybe I wouldn't feel compelled to eat such big lunches if I ate a little more at breakfast.
So I'll never have more than 600 calories in a meal and no less than 500.
Yeah, I like that.
How would this change what your results might be? Like if you added
hmm
this to your plan and you follow it for a month, what might be better in a month as compared to the path that you're currently on?
So the first 3 weeks that I've been following my rules, I've lost a pound a week, 1.1 pounds a week. I just have been feeling really good, and my clothes are already like fitting better and just not feeling bloated or sick or anything. I would just stay on that trajectory. Yesterday, when I had made that mistake, then I had to lay on the couch and I felt sluggish all night. And I just felt awful this morning when I woke up. Like I just felt lousy.
You stay on a slow and steady trajectory towards your goal. What would that do for your confidence?
Oh, I would feel much more in control, much more confident. I really have been so happy with how I've been feeling prior to this, with eating 3 smaller sized meals and never really feeling that feeling of being like, oh my gosh, I can't move. I'm so stuffed. It's not like I missed that, but on some level I did, I guess.
So you'd restore the digestive freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does that help you with your energy?
Yes. Help me with my energy, help me parenting in the evening post 5 o'clock is like the hardest time. It's homework and baths and talking about your days. And I'm so much better of a parent when I have that mental clarity. So
Terrific. How many kids do you have?
two boys, 6 and 8, and they are the most boyish boys that ever boyed. They are so energetic and just really a lot.
It sounds exhausting. Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay. So do you want to commit to having no more than 600, no less than 500 calories per meal?
Yes, I think that that is going to protect me from this happening again. Like those are good guardrails. Good addition, I think.
Do any of my coaches want to chime in before we move forward?
I just want to clarify, Beth, you do exercise. What are your weight loss goals? Are you trying to maintain or lose weight at this point?
No, I'm trying to lose weight. So I have about 40 pounds to lose. So with 1600 calories, plus I'm a pretty active person, I have 3 workout classes I take each week that are each an hour long. And then I try to walk and stuff. So anyways, I think that with the 1600 plus my activity levels, I'm about to say, like, I was hoping for 1 to 2 pounds a week, but I have been averaging, like, I've been weighing myself every day since I started the program, and now I'm like down a solid 3.3 pounds. So
How many binges have you had since starting the program?
just yesterday, I will count because it was eating a lot of food at once. And then I've broken my rules when I was celebrating my 10-year anniversary. And then I worked with Fiona. That's where I'll have 1,600 calories every calendar day unless specified like a month in advance. So I can say on my birthday, I can have more, or I don't have to worry about tracking. Not that I can have more, but that I don't have to track everything. Or if I say on Christmas Day, I don't want to track. And as long as I stick to my other rules or, then I'm okay. I haven't really, I guess, binged in a way that I typically was before the program, where I was binging probably 4 nights a week.
So you've pretty much stayed at the calories that you've wanted to consume. I
Mhm.
think what
Yeah.
I'm getting at is my concern is I wonder if you were to be eating enough to maintain your current weight and then you were to drop your calories for a slight deficit to start losing weight. My only concern is if you're already starting at a really low bar, where are you going to get to as you get closer to your goal weight? How far are you going to have to drop your
Right.
calories? So are you eating enough, especially with that much exercise, to maintain your activities and lose weight slowly? Just something to think about.
Had a squeal that I talked through with Fiona. I think Fiona, or maybe it was Dr. Glenn on a call where I was saying, like, I'm exercising so much. I should be able to eat more. Like 1,600 is not enough. I'm going to be hungry all the time. If I start to lose weight quickly, I suppose, I think that's what maybe Dr. Glenn's advice was like, let's see if how much weight you
Mhm.
really are losing. Like if you are losing 3 pounds a week, then yeah, maybe I need to bump it up
Okay.
to 1,800. But like I'm 40, I've had a couple kids. It's not coming off. It's not flying off the shelves,
Right. You just might want to give it a little bit more time and
Yeah,
definitely like if it is 3 pounds and start bumping it up slowly until
yeah,
it stops, then you can go back down again. But it takes a good few weeks to really gauge, from my experience, to really gauge if you're eating enough or not. But you got to
right,
start somewhere. So if
right.
if this sounds comfortable to you, then just be aware that you might need to keep track of that over time.
I agree 100% with Yvonne's observations and suggestions. 100%.
Good. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else want to say something here?
I'd just like to know if Beth is happy with her other roles at the moment before we focus on this one.
Oh, yeah. My other rules are basically just not eating after 7 p.m. And then my never foods, which I had made like a list of. And this was kind of another thing that Fiona was like, we really do have to fix this, but maybe we'll talk. I'm like, well, baby steps. I still like my list of never foods. I have a list of foods, and then I have a rule that says I will never eat the foods that are on my red list. And that's probably not the best way to execute that. So I've still been workshopping. I'll have to phrase it, the only sweet tastes I'll ever have are fruit and stevia in my coffee or whatever. And then instead of having this list that I read every day that says cookies, brownies, cupcakes. So
Yeah, it's also better because you don't want to be thinking about cookies, brownies, and cupcakes
right,
every day.
right. Yeah, like not a great way to start the day, being like, these are all the things that I'm in jail for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, you're happy to not be eating those things.
Yeah, it's true. I did have like all these breads listed. I'm telling you, like I had 10 different bread items, and she was like, how about we just say you'll only have bread if you're eating it as a sandwich? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so easy. Like that literally is the only time that I want to eat it. Not as a side dish, not as a pre-gaming your dinner or whatever when it comes on the table, just with a sandwich, and then it's gone, and then I move on, and that's the only bread in my life. So I have sort of been working towards raising my things like that, but I am happy with it right now. It's easy for me to look at.
So would you like to commit to this then? The new
Oh,
rule?
yes. I think that that's great.
And why does your pig say you won't be able to do it? Can't or shouldn't or won't be able to?
Well, it's saying sometimes you track your food after you eat, and then you're going to realize that you've eaten too much, and then you'll have broken your rule. What if you want to have brunch, and then you can't really have, how much is a 500 calorie brunch? What a sad brunch. That kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Anything else? Yeah, I'm just writing them down.
Oh, sure. No, basically just like, well, what if I want to indulge on a bigger, more special meal? But I could always use my 1 month rule for that if I had something really special planned, or my 1 month like exception. Sometimes I track my food after I eat and then I'll go, oh, ew, whoops, I guess I misremembered how much was in whatever.
There are two ways to solve that. One is you could say you can use the consciously and purposely clause, which says that if you didn't consciously and purposely break your rule, then you didn't break your rule. The other way to do it is to track your calories before you eat it.
Yeah.
What would you prefer?
I think for now to plan my food in advance and track all my calories at the beginning of the day. Like I sit down and I review my rules and I look at my planner and I just sort of plan my day. Maybe I should make it a rule that I'll track my food at that point. It's what I always intend to do. Nothing that I made a rule for, but maybe I should do that at least for now. And like if I know I'm going out to lunch with coworkers, but I don't know where we're going, I'll just put like a placeholder in there and that has worked for me.
I never eat calories without tracking them first.
Oh, I like that. That's so succinct.
I never consume calories without tracking them first.
Just for the podcast listeners' benefit, like I know that can sound really extreme or like, oh God, who would want to live like that, tracking their calories like that? But it really is kind of like a comfort to me at this point in my food journey. So I wanted to say it's not like an obsessive thing. I actually get sort of like a pleasure and peace of mind from doing it.
Yeah. I had someone once who told me that her rules made her feel all tucked in and comfy.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
She felt really safe with her rules. And some people don't like it, and so they don't make those kind of rules. There are a million ways to skin this cat, which is a pretty violent metaphor when you think about it.
I was just going to say,
Right?
or cats, but yeah.
Sorry, Theo. There are a million ways to get this done. And is the 1 month rule, is that sufficient to let you have the brunches that you want to, or have a reasonable social life? Or
Yeah, I think so. I really only want it to be for very special occasions, someone's hamster's birthday or whatever. I don't want to give it. I stole that from you. I know that's your joke, but
it's actually my sister's cousin's parakeet's birthday, which is a joke that my friend David made up.
Well, I love it. And yeah, I think a week is too short. I think a month is good because it's a pretty special occasion if it's on your calendar for a month.
Okay. Well, how confident do you feel that you're always going to have 3 meals a day, no more than 600 calories, no less than 500 calories?
I feel so confident. I'm so happy that I came on this call.
Is there anything that's making you feel less than 100% confident?
No, this feels great. I really appreciate it.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
Not at this time, but I'll come to the groups if I do.
Master coaches, do you have anything to say?
Well done, Beth.
Yeah, well done.
All good?
I think it's brilliant. Yep.
Oh, thanks, ladies.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.